to,
4.
Out there. 4.
It's not my rule. It's not Kyle's rule. It's the guy that I should know from history class who carved the dadgum faces into the Brock in South Dakota.
Austin, you and I obviously haven't been the first one to come up with this concept, but we've been doing this for a while of periodically coming together and trying to one day build the ultimate Auburn Mount Rushmore. That's what we're heading to. And we're going to do piecemeal of a bunch of different topics within Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. We've already done several in this series. We've done Auburn quarterbacks. We've done academic buildings. We've done basketball guards. You should go check all those out, whether it's on YouTube in the podcast format. If you ever need links for those, let us know. We'll get them to you. But here we are, I guess, our 4th installment. There was an introduction one, but I think it's our 4th one. Am I missing anything that we have done?
No, I saw you put out the links to and pictures of our previous ones. I think you're right. This is our 4th, right?
They're going to get more and more, so it'll be harder to keep track of them. But here we are. We felt it was time to do a baseball one. We are in the middle of baseball season. Well, at the end of baseball season, but still right in the heat of everything here. I thought it'd be fun for us to do the Auburn Mount Rushmore of Auburn pitchers. Now, you can break these down any way you want, relief pitchers, starting pitchers in baseball. And I think college sports a lot. There's a lot of overlap and people trying to find where they fit into and experimenting from time to time. So I would say this is our best that's why we're just doing pitchers. We're not going to break it down further from that because it's going to get hard to qualify someone truly as a starter or things like that, or a reliever specifically in some areas. This is our opinions that we're going to share, and we obviously want to hear from all of you. That's how we're going to do this. But Austin, to get started on this topic tonight, this feels very similar to the quarterback ones. Mm-hmm. And do you agree without even me saying anything further about why I'm saying that?
Well, yes. When Kyle and I talked about our week this week, and he brought this idea up, I think your text to me was, we might have to find a way to, or we might have to dig deep to find the 4th one. And I was like, 4th one? Why do you say that? Why did we look at all 4? And now, you count off the top 3 there pretty quickly.
I'll be honest with you. So once I sent you that text this week when we were discussing it, we tried not to do too much reveal to each other than just coordination. I had a different Mount Rushmore. It's just by one. I've actually altered my thinking after doing some digging, and that's why I like doing these discussions and not just releasing this is my Mount Rushmore, because you've taught me things or pointed things out to me that I missed. I hope I do some for you as well. I've learned by digging into some of the past history, because let's admit, we all have a recency bias in this, and that can play into that. If we didn't live it, didn't experience it, it's hard for us to recognize the greatness sometimes outside of what is commonly known. So keep that in mind too. And I think this is also fair to remind people too, Austin. This is mainly about what they did while they're at Auburn. However, you can't ignore what else they did post Auburn, maybe even for Auburn, that adds to their. You can't separate, I think, logically. We can say that we're going to do that, but I think you can't do that in your mind sometimes. That's my opinion about how that shakes out for me when I was deciding the thing. So I'm going to give you the floor, Austin, because I am 100% sure who our number 1 is going to be together. I'm just giving you literally it's not a softball, but a baseball here. So go ahead.
A baseball. My number 1 was Tim Huddy Hudson. I don't think that there is. I think this might be arguable, but I don't think there's anybody you think of with Auburn baseball more so than Tim Hudson.
Right.
Bo played, obviously, we all know that. But I think when I think of Auburn baseball, I think of Tim Hudson, and I think of him getting Auburn in the College World Series. Obviously, the other half of this room, the Braves side of me, obviously remembers Tim Hudson fondly as well. But for our Auburn Mount Rushmore, I think Tim Hudson is Mr. Auburn baseball. And I think that he's more than deserving of one of those 4 spots.
Right. Obviously, he has also done great work with his philanthropy. I always struggle with that word. Post involved with Auburn and the Tim Hudson. I think it's Tim and Kim Hudson Foundation. I think maybe I have that wrong.
The Hudson Foundation.
The Hudson Foundation. And so that's some great things. He comes back to Auburn all the time, and he even served as an assistant coach for a while, and that was a fun time as well. I remember him back even with the Athletics being part of that incredible pitching staff: Barry Zito, Mark Mulder, Tim Hudson, and how like awesome that was. And he was with our Braves and went off to be with the Giants, and
got a World Series ring.
He got a World Series ring. He didn't get one of the Braves. That's fine. But we had to start with that one. If we didn't put Tim Hudson, nobody would ever listen to us about a Mount Rushmore of pitchers. Any Mount Rushmore, but the first one, Mount Rushmore of pitchers, right here, right now. So I don't think we're going to differ on number 2, Austin. So I will go ahead and throw it right out there. Greg Olson.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I mean, if you talk about Tim, you got to talk about Greg. The great thing is both of these guys are they're recent enough that we're all pretty much aware of them. We even get to hear Greg, I think, broadcasting sometimes on SEC Network. Is he that where he's at now? Doing some of those and doing some Auburn games from time to time. So that's just special. I think sometimes when you get those legends still here, when they're not removing themselves from the game. But if you go look in record books, you're going to find Greg Olson there. I believe he is one of the 4 numbers retired: Huddy, Frank,
Bo,
him, and Bo. Did I get them all there? Yeah, in that list. So is it unfair to say, Austin, if your number's retired, that whatever Mount Rushmore you're going to be in that sport for Auburn, you have to be on there?
It's kind of a hard case if you don't put them on there, right? Like they saw enough to retire really your number. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's really no more difficult than that those two have already had their numbers retired. They find instantly enough to be at the very top of our discussion, but there's not much discussion that needs to be had. I think if I remember correctly, Greg had a pretty decent time in the MLB too. Maybe that differs for people what that means, but Tim and Greg Olson, obviously 2 of the most, if not the most prominent names when it comes to pitching, at least for our generation and those that this recency bias. Here's where I think we're going to get interesting, because I have changed my thinking. And I think you and I were going to 100% agree from this point forward.
I want you to go first.
No, you want me to go first now?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay, so which one I want to decide which one I want to do first now, because that's got me. There's one I think that you're going to have, so I'm going to go the route that I don't know that you're going to. And I did some digging on this one.
If I have this one, do you want me to tell you?
Sure.
Okay.
QV Low.
I did not have this one.
Okay, QV Low. So let me explain here. So I think in a good Mount Rushmore, you really have to consider the past a lot. And that doesn't mean that they just automatically get launched up there. If you are, I just think we should honor that in some way. QV Low has a 23-3 record from Auburn with a winning percentage of 0.885 in 2 years at Auburn. If you go look at all the record books, you're going to find him near the top, not at the top at some, a lot in some of the Auburn record books, which, begs the question, what's taking everybody so long to do that? Because this is a guy from, several decades past. He had the record list. I wrote some of these notes down. His record at the time of his career is an ERA of 1.69, most complete games in one season, which was, I believe, actually tied with, I forget who it was, but anyway, tied with whoever that was. But then he has the most, I think, which is 20. No, that's the other guy that I'm thinking of. I'm getting people crisscrossed here. Anyway, he was tied for the most complete games in one season. He helped Auburn get to the 1967 College World Series. And this is some stuff that's beyond Auburn, but I'm going to tie it back to Auburn. He went on to major leagues to be a minor league, I should say, coach and manager. But he came back to Montgomery, Alabama, and established the Auburn University of Montgomery baseball program.
How about that?
And led them to 3 straight their World Series. Never won one, got to second in 1990. Yeah, 1990.
So that's got a little personal for you connection there too.
It does, but folks, Auburn Montgomery is still Auburn. Like their president is our president. That is who signs your diplomas for that. So I know I'm stretching a little bit here, but when I was reading about this, I gotta put QV low on right now my Mount Rushmore of Auburn pitchers. So that's
That's
mine.
fair. That's fair. I think you thought I was going to go with Casey Mize here. Is that correct?
That is who I thought you were going to go with, and that is
Yes.
who QV low replaced. And we'll
I
talk about why in a second.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I think, like you said, that took some digging deep. I'm still going to go Casey Mize. I think
Yeah.
I know that it is kind of blurring the lines between that at Auburn, professional at Auburn, but the first number one overall pick from Auburn, I think that speaks a
It
lot,
does.
especially when you talk about his kind of trajectory of what Auburn did for him coming out of high school. Is not
Yeah.
drafted at all, comes through Auburn, has an incredibly successful career, an SEC Player of the Year type career, and goes on to be the first number one overall pick. Still finding his way with the Detroit Tigers. And it's become a solid rotation piece for them. But I think Casey Mize, and that's definitely, I think I'm not admitting it's not, but Casey and I were at Auburn at the same time. I think that is, I got to see it up hand and close and up front and personal. So I think that has to hold a lot of weight. I'm not saying that shouldn't be considered, but I'm just saying that
Sure.
for me, I got to see that with my own two eyes, and I think Casey's one of the best Auburn pitchers we've ever seen. So
Yeah.
I've got him on my Mount Rushmore with Huddy and Greg Olson.
He was sitting there, and then
Yes,
I've really tried to broaden my horizons and go beyond my
sure,
personal recency biases. He is going to be an honorable mention for me,
yeah,
he is like that honorable mention that could just slip right in there, and I could be convinced otherwise. But for me, QV, I just, you look at those record books, he's all over the place. There's a lot that are still standing, or he's still high up in those lists, and a lot of them. You look at the variety of what he did for the game of baseball, for Auburn baseball while he was here, and for Auburn Montgomery. I just got to have that acknowledged in some way as my kind of off the wall pick, maybe a little bit for that. It's not off the wall so much, it's just going deep for a spot. I think we're going to agree maybe with number 4. So I'm going to give you the floor for the final one. I think it's somewhat obvious.
Yeah, I have Joe Beckwith.
That is it. Very well. Well done. Well done. Yeah.
A 4-year letter winner for the Tigers. Just a Auburn man through and through. Grew up in town, went to Auburn High School, went through the Auburn career, and then came back after his college or his major league career. But like you mentioned earlier, I think you were reading some of his stats. The program record holder with 20 complete games.
Yep, that was it.
Yep. Ranks third in the program in ERA, fourth in wins, seventh in total innings, and was a Triple Crown winner for Auburn in the 77 season. So
yep.
Just so many accolades at Auburn from the mound, and then as well as just so many ties to Auburn, Alabama, and Auburn University, with being from here. And then, if you're familiar with the Beckwith Club, that's his father. So just an Auburn family. I'm not saying that has to count for his Mount Rushmore of Auburn pitchers.
It's hard to ignore it, though.
But it's hard to ignore it when it's an Auburn guy through and through. But his stats certainly speak for itself. Getting the Tigers to a College World Series, and then all of the pitching statistics as well. So yeah, Joe Beckwith is who I have, and it sounds like you have.
That is I think that's technically my number 3. If you want to put them in an order of like how quickly you put them up there. So Tim, Greg, Joe, and then I had QV low.
Yeah.
But for Joe Beckwith, he's also part of the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, which another of my honorable mentions, I believe, is as well. And so to me, it's almost like if your number's retired, that already launches you up to that particular category of being considered. I think if you're in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, that also should get you a pretty good consideration for being on this Mount Rushmore too. One person didn't make it that's on the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame in my list, and yours too, apparently. But I think that is another one in Joe Beckwith's column. To round out our time, I guess, do you have honorable mentions or anybody that almost made it, or is that most of your guys?
Yeah, a few. I have a few that I looked through and did research on. I saw QV low, definitely. I was really looking and try and find stats and that would let me kind of dig deeper on finding out who certain people were. I think QV low was definitely one of those. There's one I'm totally forgetting that I spent a little bit of time on. But and then others were just honestly personally because of recency, and I think that that if we had more time to kind of research it, I think that we would find more. But I think any first round picks is kind of one of those thresholds for me as well.
Yeah.
With Tanner Burns and Keegan Thompson and guys like that who have done really well under Butch Thompson. But yeah, who else did you have?
You've named a few of them. I'm going to go back to the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. Scott Sullivan, I think, is someone that should probably at least definitely get an honorable mention. Casey Mize was moved down to my honorable mentions. Can't ignore number one pick overall. I mean, that just already lost.
Right.
And it's not just that he was the number one pick. He was a great pitcher here at Auburn. Certainly he's had to battle some injuries that have made things difficult here at the next level. And hopefully he can continue to turn that story around. Keegan Thompson I had on there. And then if you just want to go off records, because obviously I think that's what most people look to for like halls of fames and things like that. John Powell, Steve Register, and Ryan Holla, they're at the top of a bunch of different categories.
John Powell was my other one. Yep.
Yes. So though we're leaving somebody off there, and I'm sure that we've forgotten someone in recency that, Burke Halter, you probably would be the most recent that we could like kind of throw in as an honorable mention because he was so good as a closer for Auburn or late reliever, whatever you want to categorize him as. And he's working his way up the Braves right now. So maybe we'll be talking about his story being a little bit more down the line. But there you go. There is our attempt for Auburn Mount Rushmore of pitchers, baseball pitchers. We would love to know from you all, who did we miss? Do you agree with us? Who do you agree with more? Tell us, we want to know. I got to know, who are your four guys? And let me just clarify this for everybody who continues to miss this. Mount Rushmore means four. It doesn't mean you get to go with the number four, this or this. Four only. Who are your top four Auburn pitchers of all time? Let us know, and we'll submit it to
four.
Out there. Four.
It's not my rule. It's not Kyle's rule. It's the guy that I should know from history class who carved the dadgum faces into the Brock in South Dakota. It's not our rule. There's four presidents on the wall or on the rock. You just got to pick four. That you make hard choices. That's what we got. That's what this is about. It's a fun exercise.
We appreciate those of you.
It blows my mind, Kyle, when you have to respond to people and say, "Well, that's not four."
I love it. I love it. Love everybody's enthusiasm. And look, the heart of it is like I want these people to get recognized, but that is what it is. We need four, and four alone. Auburn Mount Rushmore pitchers. There's ours. We want to hear from you.